Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to Just Jets, episode 120. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary, going to be hanging out with you. We have a ton of stuff to get into. I'm doing my top 5 under 25 in the New York Jets. That was a tough list to put together, by the way. More on that in a second here. We got your voicemails, and before we get started today, a word from our sponsors over at Manscaped. Gentlemen, Father's Day is right around the corner, and our friends at Manscaped are here to ensure all the father figures out there are looking daddy material this June. Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0, which includes their signature Lawnmower 4.0, is the perfect bundle to tackle any and all old man hair from head to toe. This right here is no dad joke. This is not a dad joke. Treat him and yourself and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code JETS20, JETS20 gets you 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Trust me, his dad bod will thank you. So let's hop into today's episode a little bit later than I would have liked to get this up, but some circumstances outside of my control. That's all I can really say right now. But let's hop into today's episode where I want to talk about the top 5, my top 5 under 25 for the New York Jets. Now, this list, a couple of things. You have to be younger than 25 years old when the season starts. So, unfortunately, Bryce Hall just turned 25. He does not make my list. Also, no rookies on this list because they have not played in the NFL. As much as I'd love to throw a Sauce Gardner, a Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, whoever on this list, can't do that just yet. And yeah, we're going to kind of just use that as the baseline for right now. And then it's mostly based on what we've seen at the NFL level already. So that keep that in mind when you're hearing this list. It's not projection based. It's based on kind of what we've seen already. So, number 1 on my list, I don't think really should be a surprise based on what we've seen already at this level, and that is 24-year-old Quinnen Williams. So he is coming off a 6-sack season. He has 13 sacks over the last 2 years, and while some will argue, and I think argue fairly, that maybe he hasn't lived up to the 3rd overall pick hype that we saw from him coming out of that 2019 draft, I think he's still been a very good player. He's solid, right? Like, you know what you're getting out of Quinnen Williams. Could there be more in the tank? Yes. I think anyone will tell you that. But based on everything we've already seen from this guy compared to everyone else on the roster who's under 25 years old, Quinnen's had the best body of work. Like, as a rookie, there were some flashes. Second year was very, very good. Last year was okay to good. And obviously in year 4, the anticipation is him to really come on strong before needing that new contract, which he hasn't gotten a new deal yet. I would anticipate one after this year, unless they decide to franchise tag him, but they already gave him the 5th-year option. So it's I don't know. I would anticipate if he plays well, I think he's getting a contract extension after this year. So it's a really big year for him. But so far, based on what we've seen at the NFL level, Quinnen Williams is the best guy on the roster under 25 years old. Number 2 is someone who was a rookie last year. There's going to be a lot of those on this list. And that is Elijah Moore. Now, based on what we saw last year, 538 yards, 5 touchdowns. This guy was a playmaker. He is a playmaker. And sure, maybe 500 yards isn't necessarily jumping off the page. And you're saying, well, Matt, how could you possibly, you just said it's not projection based. And then you have Elijah Moore, number 2 on your list. Well, when we did see Elijah, he was the most electric player on the football field for the Jets last year. I don't think that's even like a question of who the most electric guy on the field was. It was Elijah. He was making big plays over and over again. And once he got in that rhythm, it took him a little bit to get started early on in the season. He was struggling. But then when he came on strong, he had that run where he was on pace. Like, if you just took that like 5 or 6 game window, he was pacing out for like 1,400 yards and a touchdown a game. The guy was unbelievable for a stretch last year. I think based on what we've seen, Elijah Moore, damn good player. He comes in at number 2. Speaking of damn good players who were rookies last year, Elijah Vera Tucker. Just quality starter right away. That's really what we were anticipating from him. The ceiling is sky high. He's moving over to the right side this year. Not worried about that at all. But being able to come in right away and be a quality left guard in this league and like not be a liability is a lot harder than people think. And his versatility to play either guard or tackle, I mean, this has to put him very high up on this list. He didn't make a Pro Bowl last year. I think he has Pro Bowl potential for this year. It's obviously going to be tough because you're in a conference with some pretty good offensive linemen, especially on the interior. This is a quality player, and I don't think it should surprise anyone to see him on this list here, coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 4, this one might come as a little bit of a surprise, but I'm going to put him on here, and that's Michael Carter II, the Jets slot corner. I was thoroughly impressed with him last year. He allowed just 595 yards and 1 touchdown in coverage. He super exceeded my expectations. So did Brandon Eccles, who didn't make this list, unfortunately, but he was a little bit of an older rookie anyway. But Michael Carter II he came in and was good in the slot right away. Again, similar to Elijah Vera Tucker, it's extremely hard to come into the league and start right away and be good right away and be relied on right away. And that's what happened with Michael Carter II, and he lived up to the test. Is he an absolute star? No. Is he a solid starting slot corner? And was he a solid starting slot corner as a rookie? Yes. And to me, that's impressive. That's what the impressive was for Michael Carter II. And then another friend of the show, coming in at number 5, is the other running back, Michael Carter, who had 639 yards, 4 touchdowns, and added on top another 325 receiving yards. So Michael Carter, I really liked him a lot as a rookie. I thought they got insane value on him in the 4th round. Obviously, they add Breece Hall, so the 1-2 punch of them is going to be a lot of fun. I really can't wait to see the two of them get after it, man, on the football field. But Michael Carter was steady, and I look at him as, like, obviously he's going to be a 1B or a high caliber number 2 in this system with the addition of Breece Hall. But I almost look at, like, can he be the Jets version of what Bilal Powell was for so many years, or like Leon Washington? He was super important on those Jets team from 2006 through 2009 before he got hurt. He was tremendous on the Jets. He really was. And that's not a knock to say, like, oh man, he was like maybe going to be a role player. You need guys like that. And both Bilal and Leon Washington played big parts on these teams for a long time. It was 4 years of Leon Washington. And obviously they made the playoffs in 06. They were good in 08. They were good again in 2009. And then Bilal, yeah, he was on some pretty garbage teams, but he was just steady for so long. And if Michael Carter could do that for your New York Jets going forward, I think that's what you'd love to see. So I got Quinnen, Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker, Michael Carter the second, and Michael Carter, the running back, as my 5. Yes, no Zach Wilson, which I already see the comment section. But again, as I said, it's not projection based. And while I was extremely, extremely happy with what we saw in the second half of the year from Zach, he didn't produce enough over the course of his full rookie year to justify him being one of the current top 5 under 25. Quinn Williams has showed more at the NFL level. Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker, Michael Carter, and Michael Carter II have all shown more currently than Zach Wilson. And again, if we do this list next year, there's a very good chance I think Zach Wilson's on there. Also, I mentioned no Breece Hall, obviously, but Mekhi Becton could make this list next year. He didn't play at all in his sophomore year, so I couldn't justify putting him on the list. I thought about both Wilson and Becton, but Wilson didn't show enough as a rookie to justify him being in the top 5. Becton didn't play. If this was based off of, if I did this after the 2020 season, Mekhi Becton's 1 or 2 on this list. I think there's a strong chase that he is 1 or 2 on this list. Quinn probably would have been 1, and Becton probably would have been 2 if we did this after the 2020 season. So Mekhi is absolutely someone who could jump up this rankings. Zach Wilson is absolutely someone who could jump up this rankings. And then this is not including the rookie class that you have for 2022. You have 4 guys who are expected to be impact day 1 starters on this team in Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, Garrett Wilson, and Sauce Gardner. So this is list, if we do this a year from now, after the 2022 season going into 2023, it's probably going to look very different. But again, this list, I wanted to do it based on what we've seen already, not projection. And unfortunately, there were some difficult decisions that had to be made, but that's my list for my top 5 under 25. As always, you guys can get after me in the comment section or on social media and let me know your list. I'd be very curious to hear it. So without further ado, let's hop into those voicemails. All right, first up, we got Maine Jet calling in from Maine. Wants to get into special teams rankings and maybe who I think the fullback is going to be this year.
Hi, Matt. This is Maine Jet calling. I wanted to talk about 3 different things. Number 1, I wanted to ask about special teams and how you think they'll be ranked this particular season. I don't see an awful lot of departures from there. I still see Braxton Berrios. I see probably a better kicker if the guy from the Cowboys ends up, winning the job, and I think he will. Fullback, I'm a little worried about fullback as well. I see Trevon Wesco, the guy that they added from the 49ers. I guess that's Austin Walter, and they signed an undrafted free agent. Who can you see emerging from that? And quite frankly, my comment on that is that I see them being a little bit empty or lacking in the fullback area. So I just wanted you to go over that. Happy Memorial Day, and, go Jets. Bye.
Thank you. Much appreciated, as always. Thank you for checking in here. Last year, the Jets were really good within their return game with Braxton Berrios, obviously, he was an all-pro. But punting wasn't great, and kicking was an issue. I agree. I think Zerloin's going to beat out Eddie Pinheiro. That would be my guess. And I do think Zerloin's the better of the 2 kickers. Punter, Braden Mann is just... He got hurt last year, so I don't want to crush him, but he's been a little underwhelming for me. I thought the Jets' punting situation was significantly better when he went down and they made the switch over to, was it Moorhead or whoever the Saint? I'm blanking. They brought him in from the Saints, the guy who was there forever. It was, I don't know how good Man's going to be. I think they'll be somewhere around the middle of the pack. Their rankings was pretty low last year because of how poor the kicking and the punting situations were, even despite having a great returner in Braxton. As far as the starting fullback, I would think Bowden would be the starting fullback. I'm really over the Trevon Wesco experiment. I think you could probably move on from him. He's a converted tight end. I think maybe there might be opportunities for Jeremy Ruckert to get on the field and play a little fullback. Not every single snap, obviously, but in certain packages, maybe have him in the backfield, used as a blocker, or even coming out of the backfield to catch the ball. But special teams, I think, will be okay. Fullback, I'm kind of with you. It's not there aren't a ton of great fullbacks in this league to begin with. There's a hand, you could probably count on one hand how many good fullbacks are in this league. And the Jets, if they want to be like the 49ers use a fullback. And if the Jets try to do that this year, which I anticipate that they will, it might take them a little bit to get it rolling. But thank you, Maine Jet. Appreciate it. We're going to go to Franco in New Jersey. And what do we want to get into? Oh, the chemistry on the roster. All right, let's do it.
Hey, Matt. Franco from NJ here. Yeah, I feel the pain of the previous caller. I grew up with a lot of Giants fans, and, well, I know what he's talking about. Anyway, my biggest concern is the continuity aspect of the Jets, not so much the roster, definitely not the roster, and the injury aspect. it's getting to know you and, meshing all these new faces together. And, well, the good thing is the coaching staff knows that, and they're going to try to fix that and repair that if there's any problems. And I like the fact that Zach's going all over the country.
Yeah, me too.
Playing with his new receivers and his receivers from last year, so that's a good thing. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for checking in, my man. I'm excited about this 2022 team. At the end of the day, there's a chance they don't finish over 500. I think they hover around to 7-10, 8-9, 9-8, somewhere in that range. But I think there's a chance that this could be a fun building block year. And chemistry at times might be an issue, but I think on the flip side, in a positive way, they have in their division some good chemistry or continuity, I guess, with their coaching staff. I mean, let's think about it. The Bills just lost their offensive coordinator. They have the best roster, and they should still absolutely crush it in the division, but they lost their offensive coordinator. So did the New England Patriots with having a second-year quarterback, and then who they brought in to replace their former OC. Don't know how much I love that. The Miami Dolphins have a new coaching staff. A lot of these guys brought in new players on their team. Obviously, like I said, the Bills are going to be good. Miami trades for Tyreek Hill. New England has Bill, which I think gives them the benefit of the doubt for now. But they didn't have the best of off seasons. And the Jets staff is all coming back. And yeah, they've added a lot of young players. But as you mentioned, with Zach going around the country and Zach putting in the extra effort is really what I love to see. I think he's done a tremendous job with that this year, and I'm ready for him in year 2. I think he takes a step forward in his development. Travis from Ohio's back. He wants to talk about Pro Bowlers. All right, let's do it, dude.
Hey, Matt.
Yo.
Travis from Ohio. Sorry, buddy. I know it's been a while, but the slow news cycle and everything. Anyhow, here's a stat that nobody else has got for you.
Okay.
You guys have all been producing so much awesome Jet content, and there's even more of you guys. I see you guys popping up on everybody's channel that you guys are almost exhausting the chatter, and what am I going to call in and talk about?
Fair.
Anyway, check this out. 2020 produced exactly 10 Pro Bowlers in the COVID year without scouting, and that was now going into year 3, right? 5 of those were first-round draft picks. 2021 produced exactly 6 Pro Bowlers, and I know that shouldn't be the measuring stick, especially with alternates and veterans that don't want to be there, and it not being in Hawaii and nobody wanting to get hurt. And it's lame, and they're talking about redoing it and everything.
Yep.
Anyway, it had 6 Pro Bowlers in the first round and the entire draft so far, but it's going in year 2, just like 2020 was. So we increased our chances of getting Pro Bowl talent in the first round based on the past 2 COVID years. And number 1 running back of 2020 was Jonathan Taylor. He made the Pro Bowl the last 2 years. And the number 1 running back of last year was Najee Harris. He made the Pro Bowl his rookie year also. So we got 3 first-round picks and the best running back in the draft by critics, like they did. First one drafted anyway. That increases our chances of having way better roster. And the best part is, we used to bank on unsigned free agents just for depth. Now we actually have depth.
Yeah.
This roster is way improved. All the haters are wrong. Love you, Mrs. Wilson, and you, Matt. Go Jets. Bye.
Love it. Thank you, Travis. Really interesting perspectives going through and talking about the Pro Bowlers from the last couple of years. What really stood out to me, what you mentioned, is the first running back taken, Najee Harris last year, and the year before that, it was Jonathan Taylor. And you had a Pro Bowl in their rookie years. I think of the Jets rookies, Breece Hall might have the best chance to make a Pro Bowl this year with the amount that they're going to try to run the ball, with his talent, with the improved offensive line, with the run blocking on the right side, in particular with Mekhi Becton and Elijah Vera-Tucker, with the improved run blocking, from, Lincoln Tomlinson, who you just brought in. I think there's a chance that I think he actually, you know what, I'll say this too. Out of all the Jets skill position players, I think Breece Hall has the best chance to go over 1,000 yards. Out of the receivers, I like the receiver room a lot, but I think with the amount of weapons they have at their disposal in the passing game, I don't know if any one player is going to get enough to go over 1,000. My guess would be Elijah Moore probably has the best chance of it, but if I had to choose just one guy, and if I was making a bet, if say someone from the future comes and says, "Hey Matt, one guy on this Jets roster has over 1,000 yards, either rushing or receiving," who was it? My guess would be Breece Hall. Just a feeling. But I think there's a chance that he is very good right away because of the circumstances. I like that. That was a really good call, Travis. I appreciate the insight as always. And I agree. I think the roster is drastically improved, and it should be a lot more fun to watch them this year. Let's do John from Tennessee talking about Quincy Williams. Okay.
Hey, Matt. Not sure where that last message got cut off, so just going in again. Anyways, John out of Tennessee. Thanks for the content as always.
Thank you.
So my call is for two reasons. One, two counters to two videos you've made recently.
Okay.
One of which is Quincy Williams being a Pro Bowler, and clearly you're a lot lower on him than the Jets and some other fans are as well. And so my counterpoint to your concerns maybe is, when I watched the Jets last year, you could see both linebackers were being asked to do a lot more than I think they're expecting them to have to do this year with the new injection of talent on defense. Okay. I think with the injuries and the lack of, talent on it, they were being asked to cover for the holes in the back end as well as the run deficiencies up front. And so it was making it to where they were having to focus on so much more. And so that would open up those coverage lapses you might see Quincy have. And that was also why I think CJ had some bad plays in there too. They were just having to keep their head on such a swivel to watch for everything because of everything they're being asked to do. So I think that this new system is expecting them to be able to come up and make plays by being asked to do solely what they're being focused on rather than covering for the whole team as a whole. Secondly, I know you're real concerned about this 30 to 35 snap rule. My one counter to it would be that I don't know if you considered is I think they're expecting both their defense's new defensive players to be able to get it to where the offenses aren't having as sustained drives. And so there's less snaps that they're having to play against like that, as well as they're thinking that their new offense is going to be able to have more sustained drives to keep their offense up. And so, yeah, if you were looking at, 30 to 35 snaps for Quinn Williams and stuff last year, that would be, in that 50% range, and that's not enough. But I think the way they're looking at it is they're expecting that 30 to 35 snaps to be in that 60-65% range because they're expecting them to see less snaps due to our offense keeping them off the field and our defense getting them off faster. That's my hope. That's my guess. And in that case, if that isn't what's going on, I think they will adjust, but I think that's kind of the game plan. And so they're coming in with that winning mentality rather than, we have to be prepared for them to play in that 45 snap range because we just don't have the personnel to allow that otherwise. My 2 cents, anyways, curious what your thoughts are on these counters. And as always, go Jets. Thanks for the content.
Yeah, appreciate it. And, I'm always open to these discussions. And I think you bring up a good point with Quincy Williams that I will agree with. I think the Jets linebackers were asked to do too much last year. And they were put in a position that was, I think, in over their heads a little bit. It was too bad. And the flashes are there. I understand, like, Quincy is fun to root for because he's all over the field. He's making plays. With him, it's the consistency for me. There's some weeks he had a few really good games last year, but it was like either he looked like an absolute stud or he was downright awful. There's no in between. The missed tackles is jarring. There's weeks where he has 14%, 27, 21, 50%, 12.5%, 28.6, and 14.3%. And then the rest is like zeros across the board, which is good, obviously. The games that jump out, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Houston was his best game. But then there's some real clunkers in there. The Tennessee game, he really struggled. The second New England game, he really struggled. Indy, Buffalo, the Tampa Bay and Buffalo at the end. New Orleans was really bad. But there were, again, it was up and down. It was a little bit hit or miss, which is fine. My counter to your counter on the snap count thing, I get where you're coming from. Yes, I agree. I don't think they're going to be on the field nearly as much, which should impact it a little bit. The snap per game difference isn't really that big, I guess, from top to bottom. Like, on average in 2021, the Chicago Bears, of all teams, actually, their opponents had the fewest plays per game at 59.4 on average. And Seattle was 32 at 70.6 on average. Jets were 30th at 67.4. So let's say even they're middle of the pack, which would be 62.8. So let's round to 63. 63 times 17 is 1,071. And let's do, 1,071. We'll do some math here. I'm going to write this down. We're going to do some quick math. 1,071 plays. And let's say we'll go on the high side and say 35 snaps per game for Quinn Williams times 17 is 595. 595 divided by 1,071, which would be 55.6%, which is better, but still I don't think is enough. Unless they were at the absolute top, which is 59 times 17, which is 1,003. So do 595 divided by 1,003. That's 59. So if that's a little, that's closer to where I'd like to be. But I don't think they're going to be at the top. I think they'll probably be somewhere in the middle, which would still be a little bit on the low end for me. And it's not all just Quinn Williams not getting the amount of snaps, but also like, do I think that Nathan Shepard or someone of that caliber should be getting the same amount? No, I don't think it should be all inclusive in that way. I think it should be scaled or varied based on situation and how good the player is. So yeah, let's do, and thank you, John, for calling in. Appreciate your perspective as always. We'll do Will from Dallas.
Hey, Matt, this is Will calling from Dallas again. I have a quick story I wanted to share, and then I got a question for you. But
sure,
I believe I've said something about this in an earlier podcast. But Jamal Adams' nephew goes to the school that I work at. It's an elementary school. He's like a third or fourth grader. But
this does sound familiar.
I wore a Sam Darnold jersey one day, and he asked me why I was wearing a Sam Darnold jersey. And I didn't know this was Jamal Adams' nephew at the time, but he kept asking me why I was wearing it. I was like, because I am Sam Darnold. And throughout the next 2 or 3 months, I just kept it going. And eventually, his dad told me that he actually called Jamal just to make sure that I wasn't actually Sam Darnold and to verify that Sam Darnold does not work at an elementary school. Just thought that was funny. But my question for you is, with Ryan Fitzpatrick officially retiring, my least favorite, I guess, or most demoralizing Jets moment in my life was the 2015 season.
Week 17.
I still remember exactly where I was when I was watching that Bills game and watching them just choke away a playoff spot. But you're a little bit older than me, so I just wanted to see what your most demoralizing Jets memory is, just to kind of, I don't know what the reminisce, I guess, because it looks like the Jets are finally headed in the right direction. So, yeah, just let me know what yours is. And as always, love the show, and go Jets.
Thanks, man. That is really funny that you actually called Jamal. That one's up. The week 17 is up there. That was extremely frustrating, but it's not, for me, it's not number one. I think I would go. There's two that jump out to me. First was like my first real sports heartbreak. 2004. I was 9. And I just have to say the name, Doug Bryan. And you know what I mean. In the AFC divisional round, Jets massive underdogs, and they had multiple chances to upset the 15-1 Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in Pittsburgh, and this bum misses 2 kicks to send the Jets to the AFC Championship game. That sucked. And then in Pittsburgh again, this time in the 2010 season in the AFC Championship game, if they got that stop, the game was over. Jets were going down and scoring and going to the Super Bowl. I don't care what anybody says. That, Pittsburgh. The terrible towel, that stupid field, those stupid uniforms, and stupid Ben Roethlisberger just gives me PTSD. I hate it. Those two are probably my most demoralizing Jets moments. That's the Week 17 Ryan Fitzpatrick and against the Buffalo Bills is up there. That is a demoralizing one for sure. Let's close out. We'll go Peter calling in from Hudson Valley.
Hey, Matt. This is Peter from the beautiful Hudson Valley, New York. Just calling in to check on some possible free agent signings.
Ooh, okay.
Now that it's in the month of June. The rumor seems to be going around that the Jets may have made final offers to both Larry Ogunjobi and Quan Alexander, and hopes to bolster the defense on both the line and the linebacker core. So I'm wondering your thoughts, if you've heard anything on if both may be coming to New York to play for Robert Saleh and company. And obviously we definitely need help at linebacker, and certainly Ogunjobi would bolster the middle of the line if both were to come on board. So just wanted to see what you heard about that. And as always, go Jets.
Yeah, I've heard pretty much the same thing with you, that they've put in the offer on both Ogunjobi and Quan Alexander. If I had to pick one, I think it's Quan, because I don't like the Jets' depth at that position. Larry Ogunjobi is interesting because, yes, they could use some more help with depth on the interior, but to me, Ogunjobi is very similar to Sheldon Rankins. They're not great in the run game, but they can get after the passer. And yes, that's what the Jets like from their interior guys, for them to kind of just pin their ears back and freaking go. But it almost feels like a repetition of that same thing that you already have with Sheldon Rankins. So I don't know if that one makes as much sense to me, but the Quan one definitely does, because he's played under Robert Saleh. He's good when he's healthy, and he'd be used for depth. Like, you're not bringing him in and asking him, you're like, hey, be our number one linebacker. No, you're bolstering a position that you don't really have a ton at. So of the two, I would prefer Quan. If they sign Ogunjobi, great. I think it's more depth. I'm not going to be mad at a June signing of Larry Ogunjobi. I think he's an interesting guy and could provide some upside as a pass rusher. Again, it just kind of goes back to a repetition of resources between Sheldon Rankins and Ogunjobi. I just think they're similar players. So that's it. That's going to do it on this episode. Thank you to everyone who called in. You could always call in, leave me a question. I'll try to get to it on the show. Another episode in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe wherever you get the show, and I'll talk to you next time.